do something different. Aleksej has spent a lot of time interviewing me. This time, I'm interviewing Aleksej for his channel because he does a lot with interviewing men like Carl Truman and me or other people, but some people probably don't know a lot about Aleksej yet, who he is. So I wanted to ask some questions to even get to know more about him myself. So Aleksej, you are getting ready to go back to Latvia, where you're from. And we've known each other a while about your past and some of the struggles you've had to face in Latvia.
Mm-hmm.
And before we start with some like Christian questions, just your life story. What's your like you were grew up in an orphanage because of your parents not being able to take care of you. What was that like?
Well, let me start with saying I wish I could interview Charles Spurgeon, which we probably wanted to say, but it's too late for me.
Just a little.
Yeah, a few hundred years. So, but
kind of rolls off the Carl Truman, Charles Spurgeon. It kind of same, I guess.
Yeah.
I bet you would like that. Anyway.
So, before living in the orphanage, I did watch some movies and saw how it is to live in an orphanage. Like everyone, like if you're new, you're being picked on or something, like, or maybe somebody can steal your food and stuff. So I had such a understanding or vision of that, but when I came there, like, interesting, what's going on there? And the first time just when I arrived there, I saw one kind of older guy, kind of talking, kind of picking on someone who is younger. I'm like, oh, is it gonna be something about me? Will I be picked on? Will somebody do the same thing to me? But it was not the case. So
was it like difficult being separated from your parents because it was both you and your brother?
Yes. No. Well, for me it was not, and I probably think for my brother either, because I still went to school, which was in the same region where my family lived, and I did visit them like daily, so it wasn't something like I didn't see them or like, well, you're now taken away from your family, so from your friends. No, they were like, okay, yeah, we understand you go to school and you probably want to stay with your friends there, so it wasn't the case.
So the orphanage treated you pretty well.
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Same was with my brother. I would say that he very fast became friends with another boy who was pretty much same age as he was, and they just started hanging out together. So, but it was, I should say, difficult to realize that I'm not at home actually, so I'm separated.
Do you mind if I ask what caused the being pulled away from your parents?
Oh, it's not a secret. It's our parents had and unfortunately still have problems with alcohol abuse. So it's like drinking too much alcohol, not taking care of me and my brother, not working, so basically not providing for kids and family.
So you're obviously fed, taken care of at the orphanage. Did you go through moments of hunger when you were with your parents because of negligence, things like that, or did you just not realize what was going on?
No, I actually was able to know what's going on, and like, yeah, we don't have food, and but
Did you guys have to Did you have to do something in order to get food? Like, did you have to steal food or yeah, things like that? That's what I was curious of.
oh well, that's an interesting question because well, I did not have to steal. I had the kind of desire to steal. It was like when I went to a bakery shop and like, all these goodies, they just smell tempting. Oh, I don't have money, but hey, how about, oh, there is that pastry, I can think of it, run out really quickly. But then the thought just stopped me like, what if I get caught? Oh, it's my region and everyone knows me or something. So, like, alright, I don't want to do that. But, my parents and I used to go a lot to the forest, do all these mushroom picking, blueberry picking, and then after that we would come home, get some rest, and go sell it. So that's was one of those ways during the summer how to provide for some food. And of course my parents like weekly got child support, like from government. It's like they pay, government monthly pays you
Certain amount.
yes, yes. So at some point it was spent towards providing some food for us, but
A lot of it went towards alcohol.
yeah, alcohol, cigarettes, some of these things that, oh, okay, that's not for your child, okay? So that was one of those things, but I think one of the shameful thing that I ever had to do to provide food was like digging in the dumpster. So
Did you have to provide for yourself or provide for family, or was it providing for you and your brother? Or?
it was, I don't know, I probably was in such a mode, okay, in a provider mode. So, okay, I got to do something so I don't go hunger and my family. Yeah, it was interesting. One of my grandfather's friend said, hey, there is a shopping mall here nearby and they throw away some kind of good food or food that's just about to expire or just maybe 1 or 2 days after expired, but they kind of okay. So, and that's something that triggered me. And I did go with that friend one day and brought home a bunch of good stuff, like good looking watermelon or something. And my parents were like, nah, we will never do that. Well, I will go hungry, but so yeah, and I was like, well, if my parents don't, so I will go and do it. And after some time, me going there, my parents like, he's bringing good stuff. Like, well, yeah. And then my parents started going there. So, yeah, but there were days, like way before that, okay, we don't have any money, we don't have any food.
How old were you when you were doing that?
And I should say, like preschool age, maybe 6, 7. Well, 7 is the age when we actually do send children to school, but my parents procrastinated that too, so I went when I was 8. But
So you're like. So you were basically, 6, 7, 8 years old when going through this. But these sound like the things an adult would be doing. Like, oh, I'm putting myself in the mind of having to be an adult. You're doing things that kids typically shouldn't be doing. So,
well, those were also things that no kid should ever experience.
yeah,
We put that way too.
yeah, no, I agree. So a big question would be like when you were, forced into moving into the orphanage, how did your life improve? And from what I understand, the orphanage that you ran was a Christian orphanage, or
No.
government orphanage with Christian in it.
There were a few Christians that were there, but it definitely wasn't a Christian orphanage.
Okay, because I remember you talking about a lady who, tell me before about a lady who you walked up and was reading the Bible.
Yes.
But with moving to the orphanage, how did your life improve in the orphanage? Did it improve more or less? Like, did you see that as a beneficial thing for your life?
Well, yes, it did improve. Well, the orphanage was actually the place where I learned Latvian language. So before that, I did have Latvian language classes at school, but I would usually get D's. So it was like very bad. But then having Latvian language all the time around me, I like started picking up. Boom, 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 boom. But before that, the same caregiver I talked to was like, I'm Russian. I don't need this Latvian language. All I need is just Russian. She's like, okay. And she's like, maybe 2-3 weeks later on, she's like hearing me talking on the phone on Latvian language. Like, oh, really? You didn't learn it? Okay, cool. So she's like, well, I told you. Like, wow, I didn't learn it. Like, it just naturally came to me. So yeah, it was just a little funny to look back and like she's telling me, well, kinda you're living in Latvia. I'm like, I don't need Latvian language. And then she's like, all of a sudden, Aleksejs speaks Latvian. Oh, wow. So, but surely academically there was improvement. I didn't have to dig in a dumpster. That's kind of a little bit spoiled me. Well, yeah, I didn't have to have such a thinking mode, like, okay, where the food comes from, where it will go. All I do is just come home to the orphanage, and there is always food. So, and not just food, but there is a variety of food. So I can actually pick what I want to eat and what I don't want to eat. At home it was like, you have this? Well, if you don't eat it, probably you're not hungry. So it was like such thing, like probably should say, oh, I can take it for granted. So yeah, somebody owes me something. But later on, I did really overcome that idea. But after orphanage. Yeah, clothing, all the basic things that I didn't have at home, they improved.
Okay. You told me a story about a lady who was reading the Bible and you talked to about the Bible in the orphanage.
Yes.
And that's sort of how you kind of became a Christian, was
At that point, it just was.
being introduced.
Yeah, it was interesting. Okay, what's going on there? What she's doing there? Like she's always there doing, sits there in her like a mini office, and reads something. And so yeah, one night I knocked at the door like, hey, what's going on? What are you doing there? Oh, like I'm reading New Testament. Like, oh, can I sit down? And what's going on there? Like, and yeah, that's how. Every night she worked, we would just sit down there, she would read for me, and I would sometimes ask her some questions.
Okay. Yeah, so you, how is that different than being at home? Like, did your parents have any sort of religious values, or was there any basic understanding of God, or was it more atheistic? What was that like?
It was, well, so we had some Christian friends, and we did sometimes go to church, until, of course, somebody gave us rights. But, yeah, I remember myself going to, like, Sunday school, but it was nothing big of a deal. So
yeah, sort of like America in that way.
Yeah, I'm in America in my home.
Yeah. Okay.
However, sometimes my grandma would cite Lord's Prayer. She was like, I think she felt herself as a Russian Orthodox.
Okay.
So sometimes she would go to a church, or Russian Orthodox Church, and because of all these big celebrations like Easter and all these. So, but that's just when it was celebration. It's more like a tradition, things like that.
Okay. When you were getting older, I remember you saying before when we've talked, because I want to help other people get your story too.
Mm-hmm.
You struggled with alcohol abuse yourself. Because, am I correct? Because when you were younger, young friends would get you into alcohol.
It was not like alcohol. For me, it wasn't as big as a deal as for my parents. Of course, I did get drunk and things like that. Well, like yeah, I was like teenager, and like everyone does it, so did I. But for me, it wasn't that. Oh, I will. If I drink today, I will drink tomorrow. Because if I drink today, then tomorrow I'm like, I don't need this. No, thank you. So I could get so drunk, but it.
And how old were you when you started drinking?
You mean like kind of hanging out?
Hanging out with people and then drinking, and getting drunk.
It's teenage. Yeah, I'm like 15 and up.
15 and up.
So yeah, I got some influence, and but yeah, I didn't. For me, it wasn't like if I have a drink or two, and it's like a limit for me. Of course, it was like let's trash totally or something. But
okay. So when you obviously at some point became a Christian.
mm-hmm.
Do you think you became a Christian in Latvia, or do you think you became a Christian when you came to America? Or are you like kind of, not sure?
Well, I think I became a Christian when I was already in Latvia, but for me it's just always a constant process. I just coming back to Christ. It's not. I had and still have my ups and downs in faith, but yeah, it's certainly like being here in America helped me a lot to learn about Christ and grow more.
Okay. Do you so when did you become a Christian?
Mm-hmm.
And how? Because you were talking to this lady who was talking to you about the Bible.
Well, that's a good question actually. First time when I repented of my sins, it was like, oh, what did I do just? So it was like, same lady, she had a friend who was from a Pentecostal church, and she would tell me things like about him. He has a gift of telling, I'm not sure if I say it correctly, but he could say, oh, you have that spirit or that spirit, like
discerning spirits.
Yes. So that was the gift of tongues. Just would tell me so many good and interesting things about him. I'm like, yeah, I want to meet this guy. Like, sounds like it's a cool guy to meet. But usually it didn't happen for a long time, and then she invited both of us to help at her house. So yeah, we had to cut some branches of the trees, and after that she offered us some like tea. Okay, well, let's sit down and have some fun. And after that, I had to go back to orphanage, and he was like, "Hey, can I pray for you?" Like, sure, it's not gonna do any bad for me. So, and he started praying for me, and then he's like, "Well, repeat after me." I'm like,
so he made you do the magic prayer.
Yeah, I'm like, is that how you pray for people? Like, is that how it works? Like, okay. And I started repeating after him, and he stopped praying, and I obviously also stopped, and then said all goodbyes. And I go back to orphanage and like just thoughtless, like no thoughts at all. And then when I came back to orphanage, the first question to me was, "Do you have a cigarette?" Like, I didn't have a cigarette, but I don't know why, but I said, "No, I don't smoke." Like, no, not just telling, "No, I don't have a cigarette," and I would not lie, but I don't smoke. Like, what's going on there? And everyone was like, "What? How do you don't smoke?" So I guess that at that point I guess unconsciously repented of my sins, and then later on I went with that cool social worker, I guess, to her church, to a Baptist church, which became my church. Yeah, I was, at that point I already started reading Bible, and actually one of the verses I have opened, it's Mark chapter 16 verse 16. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. And at that point I heard some of the teachings that they teach that, okay, first you have to repent publicly of your sins and then be baptized. And after that, they would allow you to come to Lord's table. And I'm like, sounds like a Lord's table is something important. I'm like, I do believe, but it feels like there are some steps I still have to take. So, and at some point I was like, you know what? I probably have to confess my sins now that I do understand what has to happen.
Yeah. So did you understand, do you understand all, I mean, obviously now you understand a more deeper theology than back then, but did you have an understanding that you're saved by grace through faith, not of works, that no man may boast? Like that you're saved by faith alone in Christ, and it's not your works, or were you wondering, like, or were you just like, I know I'm saved because I believe in Jesus, but there are all these things that I feel like I have to do because the Bible tells me. Like,
Yeah, I think right now I do understand that more, but back then I just knew I have to do this. It's something should be done. And after I was baptized, and when my brothers came to me like saying, what is it? How is it? What is it in English? If you know I'm sinning, and confrontation. So he confronted me like, hey, when you were up there baptizing, was it a theater or some sort of play? And then just stuck in my mind right now, was it a play or was I sincere? Just
it's good.
So, yeah, that's a story in a nutshell.
Nice. Okay. Well, I guess for now we can kind of put this kind of part one of your story. If we get a chance to do part two, that'd be great. But I really just wanted to kind of hit just your life, you know, and that way people in an easy question fashion, because you do these videos when you interview people, and people might not know you as well, and I think you have a compelling story for people to hear, especially in, you know, the U.S. and in different ways. I mean, I want to kind of get into, next time we talk, why I asked more about your past too, and how it relates to some of our own cultural contexts and things like that. So we'll try to do that in the future.